Hello guys, welcome back again. This is an intermediate to an advanced level C# programming language. In this video, we will look at methods, method parameters, and how to overload methods. We will look at the concept of object-oriented programming using C#. We will look at the classes and objects. We will have a look at the class members and constructors. We will look at the access modifiers and properties. We will also look at inheritance and polymorphisms. We look at abstraction and interfaces, enums, files, and exceptions. So, rather than just talking too much, we will get into it. If you don't have your Visual Studio open, I suggest you open a console application, right? If you don't know that, you can look at the previous videos, right? So we get continuing. So what is a method? It's just a block of code which only runs when it's called. You can pass a data known as the parameters into a method. Methods are used to perform certain actions, and they are also known as functions. We use methods so that we can for more code reusability, right? So a method is defined with the name of the method followed by the parentheses. But mostly in C#, you would need the access modifier and the return type of the method. So we will have a look at it in this. So here, this is how we actually start a method. Have a static void, and we can say my first method. So we use the parentheses open and close, and then we put all our code blocks inside this curly, as you would also know. So as you can see, the static is just an access modifier, and this is the return type void, which I will explain later on. So the static is an access modifier, and it specifies the visibility of the method. You will learn more about the access modifiers in the later on. The void means that this method does not have a return value. You'll also learn about return values as we go on. So how to call a method, right? So we can call a method inside another method. Like here, we have the main that we actually learned that this is where we display stuff in the console. So we can call this method here by just writing its name, my first method. And we can open and close it with a semicolon. This is how we call it. So we can inside this method here, we can put something inside, like console.writeLine. So we can say from my first method. So if we run this here, we're going to get this method, as you can see, referenced. So in this case, we've actually referenced this method here. That's why we have if we open it down, as you can see here, we have it called here. So we've actually referenced this method. As you can see, it's showing here. So we can run it now to see what actually comes out of it. So now, as you can see, we have it running. So we're just gonna wait for. So as you can see here from my first method. So this is how we call the method, and this is how we actually write our method, right? So the next part is we look at what is the method parameters, right? So we look at it. So information can be passed to the method as a parameter. Parameters act as variables inside the method. They are specified after the method name inside the parentheses. You can add as many parameters as you want. Just separate them with a comma. So in this method, what we add a parameter, data type string, and we call it name. Yeah. So as you can see here, we're getting an error because right now this method has a parameter. So this is what we're going to do with the parameter. We're going to put a dollar sign in front of the double quote here. So we can say, my name is, and you can add a name. Yeah. So here, before we actually invoke or call the method, we can say string name is equal to Johnny B. So here, what we do, this is how we pass the parameter to the method. We add the name here, the name variable, and as you can see, the arrow sign is gone. So now we've passed the value name Johnny B to the method. So if we run it now, we should get this name printed out as my name is Johnny B. So let's run it and see what actually comes out of it. So as you can see, we have my name is Johnny B printed out. So when a parameter is passed to the method, it is called an argument. So from the example, you see the name is a parameter, while the Johnny B, the name here is the argument, right? Is the value. So let's see. You can also use a default parameter by just passing the value, right? So I'll also show you what the default parameter is. So as you can see here now, we have a string here called name. Let's change the string, make it country. Yeah, and here inside this here we're going to set equal to UK. Yeah. So here we're just gonna change it to the country variable here. So this is what we're going to pass. Yeah. We have the country, and this is Norway. Norway. So as you can see here we can leave the method here without putting anything. So, but we still have a parameter. Just bear in mind, we have a parameter, but here we can call the method without putting any parameter inside, and we're not going to get an error. I'll show you the reason why. So, but before that, let's run and see what actually will be printed out. So, basically, we have my obviously supposed to country, but never mind. My country is UK, yeah. So as you can see here, we call the method here, and this variable, this value was the one that was used, right? It is because it's the default value that we've given it to this parameter. So if we call it without giving it a specific value or a specific, we don't pass in any specific argument, we will get this printed out. So now, if we pass in the country, which we've actually set to be Norway, yeah. So here, we should get this country printed out. So I'm just gonna say my country instead of my name. We save it and we F5. And as you can see, my country is Norway. So basically, if we passed in the variable, then the one that we've actually passed will take precedence. But if we don't pass in anything, then this will be used as the default parameter value. So it's very important to bear that in mind, right? So a parameter with a default value is often known as an optional parameter. From the example, as you can see, we have an optional of a UK. So if that is left empty, then we will actually get that one printed out. So let's bear that one in mind. So as you can see here now, we have a void. So in this case, our method is returning nothing. But in most cases, we have a method to be returning something. So we remove this method here and remove this bit here as well. And we're going to create a method. We use the static, and then we return integers. So we're gonna say sum. So we're gonna have a sum of two integers, right? So we have two variables, yeah. So we have number one is an integer s, and number two is also an integer y. And all we would do is we return s plus y. Yeah. So if you look at this as compared to the one that we did earlier on, you see we're using a return. Yeah, and this return, when this operation is completed, the return will be an integer, because an integer plus an integer is equal to an integer, right? So, okay, or let's assume that way. So now let's have two variables here. We have an int variable x, which is equal to 40. Then we have a y, which is equal to 90. Yeah. So now we can invoke, or we can call the method. So we call the sum as a method. So we use our bracket. So now we can pass in our two variables like this, the first and the second one. So here, this is what we can do, because we are returning a value. We can put that in the console. So we can say console.writeLine, and then put the sum inside actually. So now, so we just remove this semicolon here. We save it, and now we run it to see what actually comes out. So we should get 90 plus 40, which is 130. If you can see, that is the exact value. So we could also do a lot, like in terms of multiplication, and here, instead of using sum, we can use operation. Yeah. And then we can perform multiple operations. So here we could also add something like a string denoting the type of operation that we will use. So these are all the stuff that we can do. So before we move on, you see this bit here, as you can see, the operation, we've actually printed it out straight away. Yeah, we can actually get it done. We can put that one inside a variable. Yeah, and then we can call the variable sum, and that will be the same as well. So bear that in mind. Yeah. So we will look at method overloading as well. Yeah. With method overloading, multiple methods can have the same name, but with different parameters. Yeah. So as you can see here, we have this method operation. Yeah. It has two parameters here. So we can have another method here, static int, and we can call it the same operation, but then we can have a integer y, and then we can have a string operation. So as you can see now, we have a operation here. So we can say here, we can put this in a switch here. So we can say switch operation. Then we can say, we can put that in the block. Then we can say case addition. We can say case multiplication. Then we can break, yeah. So we can say return y by. So now because it's a return, we wouldn't even need the break. So we can do it just like this, yeah. So we can also say, yeah. So if it's a case division, then we can put a division as well. Y divided by this. So actually, you get the whole thing, yeah. So we can also put our default. Default as return x plus y. So we won't get any error here. So as you can see here, it's a very simple stuff. So this is how we can call its method as well. So as you can see, we have operation here. So now what we're doing is calling the first method because we're only using the two parameters. But now let's add one thing here. Let's add a string, and inside let's add our operation here, and let's see what comes, if it will be added or multiplied. So as you can see here, see now it's actually multiplied. So that's how we get on with these sort of things here. So if you can see, method overloading here is just using the same method but different parameter signatures here. So we can also use inside optional parameter to pretty much do something like this. But obviously, if you want to create a multiple method signature with the same name, then you can use the different type of parameters, right? So yeah, now we let's get to the main object-oriented programming side of the C#. So procedural programming is about writing procedures or methods that perform operations on the data, while object-oriented programming is about creating objects that contain both data and methods, right? Object-oriented programming has several advantages over procedural programming. Object-oriented is faster and easier to execute. Object-oriented provides a clear structure for the program. It helps to keep the C# code dry, means don't repeat yourself, and makes the code easier to maintain or modify and debug. It makes it possible to create full reusable application with less code and shorter development time. So we look at classes here. So the classes and objects. The classes and objects are the two main aspects of object-oriented programming. Yeah. So we look at class fruit and object apple, banana, mango. We look at an example as class as a car, and the object of the object is Volvo, Audi, and Toyota. So a class is a template for objects, and an object is an instance of a class. So when the individual objects are created, they inherit all the variables and methods from the class. So we were going to learn more in the upcoming. So now we're going to learn more about objects and classes. As as I said previously, yeah, object is just an instance of a class. So an object is created from a class. So in a case here, we create an object, a car, and then the type of the car is Volvo. That's the object. So we should bear that in mind. And we can create multiple objects from a class. So let's get started with the class here. So as you can see, we have a class here, program. That's a class, but we create our own class here inside our namespace here. So we're going to call, first we make it public. Public is an access modifier. We'll look at that one later on. Public, yeah, and then we call our class, we use the class, and then we make it a car. Then we use the curly open and close. This is the car created here. So we can have attributes like or properties like string, color. So as you can see here, we have a car, and then we have a color. We will use a with this. We use a property actually. We just say color. So we use a capital, then and then here we put get and set. This is a property that we will have a look at it later. Yeah. So we're going to make this one public as well. So we have we have a class car, and then we have a property color. Yeah. So we come inside our console app here. So remove this method here. So we have a car. Or let's use the object here. Object a car is equal to new car. Yeah, so and here this is the car object here that's created. We have a new instance of the car. So we can set the car value, the color of this car, by calling the car variable and using the dot. So now we can say color. Yeah, it's equal to. So here, as you can see here we made it an object here, system.object. So we have to cast it. So we can call it a car directly here. So we're not going to get this error. So we're going to call this car red. So what we've done is here, we've created an object from the car class, and then we've actually set the car color to red. So as you can see, the object is an instance of a class, and the class is just a template for that for the object. So you should bear this in mind. It's very important. So from here, we can access we can actually print out the card by saying, yeah, I'm just gonna put console the read key. We set that to true. Then we can say console.writeLine. Then we can say car.color. So we can print out the color of the car. So as you can see now, we've got the color of the car printed out, yeah. So we look at it in much more further. So if you notice here, I use this public here keyword here. It is called an access modifier, which specifies that the color variable of the car is accessible for other classes as well. So basically, that's the reason why we're able to access it here. So if we look at this car here, if we remove it here and make it private, actually, so if you can see here, we are not able to access it. The car is inaccessible due to its protection level. So we've actually prevented the car from being accessed. So we actually make it public for other classes, yeah, to be able to access it, because we are outside this class. So if we're actually inside there, then we can still make it protected and you'll still be able to access it. So we will look more at access modifiers later on. So now we have our class here as a car. We look at what our class members here. So if you look at the color is a member, yeah. So we can also add more field or more properties to, or more members to the class, yeah. So we will add something like we can say public int mass speed. We use the get set. We will explain it as we go on the get set, yeah. So we can also say, yeah, we can have a method inside as well. So we can say public void full throttle, yeah. Then we can say console.writeLine, use our $, and we can say car going at, so we can say mass, can put our mass speed here. Actually, the mass speed, miles per hour. So we can just make this one small a here. So now we have the mass speed here. So now we come here back inside the main here. Now we've set the color here. Now we can say car dot mass speed is equal to 200, and then we can say we can actually put the car color here. So we can say color. So now instead of car dot color here, we can just print out. We can say car dot the method here, throttle. Yeah. So that should work out. Checks out. Okay, one more. Should be fine. Yeah, that should be fine. But okay, so we can just print it out here like this. We're not going to put this one inside the console.write line. We're just gonna put it here. Dot full throttle. So we're just gonna print it out here. So we save it, run it. So as you can see, we have the red car going at 200 miles per hour. So yeah, that's how we also set the attributes or the members of the class. Yeah. So we move on to the next bit here, which is the class constructors. So a constructor is a special method that is used to initialize the objects, right? So let's say in this class here, we have a constructor. Constructor is just public, and then the car. It's just a method, yeah, something like this, yeah. So this is a constructor for the car. This is how we write a constructor for the car. So here we can use to set the initial values of this car object's attribute here. So we can say the color So we can say the color is equal to blue. Then we can say mass speed is equal to 160. Actually, sorry, we got a constructor created inside a constructor. That's why I'm getting that error. Sorry about that. So now we have this bit here. So if we go back to where we initialize them there, you see now we've actually set the values here. So here, if we don't set the values here, we comment on it. If you remember how we commented here. In C# we can comment it like from that side here. It's not commented now. Yeah, so I've got multiple comments. Let me go back twice. Okay, fine. So now we've actually commented the values that we've actually set here. So if we run it, then we should get the default values. So as you can see here now, we have got the blue car going at 160 miles per hour. So we've actually made use of these values here inside here. So we can also overload the constructor, call the constructor overloading here. We can say theta here, and then for tab. So here, what we do is we can overload it with a couple of parameter. We can put in some parameters. First one is the color, and then int for the mass speed. So here we could say, yeah, the color is equal to the incoming value, incoming color. Then we can also say the same for the mass speed as also the same incoming. Yeah, so as you can see here, we have got two different constructors here. One has no, one we have two, one with no parameters, and the other one with two parameters. Yeah, so if we go inside here, see now, yeah, we can remove this. Inside here, we can add the two parameters though. So here now, we can add a new color for the car, which we can say green, and then we can add the speed limit to 320. Yeah, so here, actually, we have to pass it inside the constructor. Sorry about that. I'm just going to copy this bit here. So here, this is where the constructor here. So this is where we have to paste it here. So we change it to green and 320. So we should get the green car. Sorry, it's got two parentheses here. Okay, so there's an error because I actually posted two brackets here. So I'm gonna remove one here. So that should be fine. So save it and F5. And as you can see here, we have the green car going at 320 miles per hour. So that's how you can also overload the constructor. So it's very important if you're passing information to a class. So because there are some instances that you would have to pass certain information to certain classes here. So it's very important. So now we can have a look at access modifiers here. So now we've looked at mostly public. Yeah, the public keyword is an access modifier, which is used to set the access level or visibility for classes, fields, method, and properties. Yeah. So the public, yeah, the code is accessible for all classes. The private means the code is only accessible within the same class. Protected means the code is accessible within the same class or in the same class that is inherited from that class. We will learn more as we go on. The code, internal, is only accessible within its own assembly, but not from another assembly. We will also learn that one later on. So you should bear in mind for all these access modifiers. Yeah, for now, we will use a private here. So as you can see here, we were calling. Now we can remove this comment here. We can remove this comment here, yeah. So we have the color and then the mass speed here. So they're all fully accessible by the program method here. So now we can change this access here. We can make it private. Yeah. And you see that we got an error straight away here. You see, color is inaccessible due to its protection level. Yeah. So by just changing it to private here, we're not being able to access it inside another class. So we got to make this one public to be fully accessible. So we should bear that one in mind. So we could actually make the whole class private as well. We can also make the constructor private constructors as well. We have a look at them more into details as we learn and we go on. So it's very important. So if you declare public, means it can be fully accessible. To control the visibility of class members, the security level of each individual class and class member, to achieve encapsulation, which is the process of making sure that sensitive data is hidden from users. This is done by declaring fields as private. We will learn it as time goes on here. So we also look at properties. Yeah. So before we look at properties, yeah, we need to understand the meaning of encapsulation. Yeah, the meaning of encapsulation is to make sure that sensitive data is hidden from users. To achieve this, you must declare field variables as private, provide public get and set methods through properties to access and update the values of a private field. So we learn as we learned from the previous, as I said previously, private variables can only be accessed within the same class. So let's say here in this car class here, we have this private variable, private string, and we use an underscore color, and we set that value to blue green. So this this field here can only be accessed inside this class here, inside the car class here. So we could say we can set directly the value here of class and override that incoming one, or if we just use it and then set it here, color. But we cannot access it by using this color object, this car object. So as you can see, it's not here because it's hidden from, it's private and it's hidden. So that can only be changed or manipulated within the class. So we should bear that in mind. So what are automatic properties here? C# also provides a way to use shorthand automatic properties where you do not have to define the field for the property, and you do not have to write get and set it inside the property. Yeah. So this is what we do. Now, this is what I've actually done here. This is an automatic property. So you can create it. You can set the values directly here. So as you can see here, I've actually set the values directly from it. So why encapsulations? Yeah. So better control of class members, reduce the possibility to mess up the code. Fields can be made read-only if you only use the get method, or write-only if you only use the set method. The programmer can change one part of the code without affecting other parts. The increased security of data. So that's really important in terms of using the properties, right? So what are inheritance or derived bay class? In C#, it is possible to inherit fields and methods from one class to another. We group the inheritance concept into two categories: derived class, child, or the class that inherits from another class; base class or parent, the class being inherited from. The to inherit from a class, we will look at that one later on. So So here, as you can see, we on top of the car class here, we create a new class here. We make it's a public class, and we call it vehicle. Yeah, we call it vehicle here. So inside here, we're just gonna make we're just gonna say public string brand. We're gonna make this one get set. So now we can inherit the vehicle class by putting in front of the car class semicolon and then writing our vehicle. So this is how we inherit the vehicle. Yeah, so now if we go straight all the way down to the main where we've called the class, yeah, so now we can say car dot, and as you can see we have the brand showing, but if we looked at it, we had the brand was in the vehicle side, yeah. So we can actually go back inside the car here. We just come back here. We add one more property. We can say public string. We have the model, and we can say get set. So here we can set the car model as well. So here we can say car dot model. So we can put whatever car the model that we want to put. So if we come to the car side here, now we can say we can put the car. Oh man, we can also put the car here. We can put a model here now. So now we can run it to see what actually comes out of it. So as you can see, now we have the red Mustang going at 200 miles per hour. So we've actually been able to inherit. So we could actually even put the model here. We can also put the model here now. Now the brand actually. As you can see now, we can directly get the brand. So you see the string vehicle dot brand, but this is inside the car class, yeah. But it's because we've actually inherited it, so we can call it straight or directly. So now we can rerun it again. So okay, so if you don't want other classes to inherit from a class, then we can use the sealed keyword. So here, yeah, instead of the public, yeah, if we use the sealed, that means we prevent the car from inheriting it. So if you look at it, car cannot derive from a sealed type vehicle. So you have to also bear that one in mind. If you don't want that the class to be inherited, then you can use the sealed modifier. So we move on to polymorphism. Polymorphism means many forms, and it occurs when we have many classes that are related to each other by inheritance. Like we specified in the previous chapter, inheritance lets you inherit fields and methods from another class. Polymorphism uses those methods to perform different tasks. This allows us to perform a single action in different ways. For example, a base class called animal that that has a method called animal sound. Yeah. So we will have something. I'll create an example. So first of all, we need to clear out what we have here now. So here we will remove this class, these two classes, the vehicle, and then we actually clear this bit here as well. Yeah. So first of all, we create a class, a public class called animal. And we could say we can create a method. It's a public void method. Void. And we can say animal sound. So here we have this method called animal sound here. So we can create another class here that we can say the public class. We can say take that inherits animal. So now we can use this method here. Public void animal sound. Yeah. So if you put it on it, animal.pig.animal sound height inherited member animal sound. Use the new keyword. Yeah. So if you look at it here now, so here inside this animal here, we could say we can just write here to a console. We're just gonna say animal sound. So just something like that. And it said, and then in the pig side we can say pig sound somewhat awful. So we can also make it like this here. We save it. We can create another one, another class. So we're just gonna copy this bit here. Then paste it here. We change the name. We can make it dog. So here we can have a dog here. So this is like animal sound. So we can say dogs sound somewhat woo woo, something like that. You know what I mean? So we just come back to this bit here. So we can say, yeah, we could say animal dog is equal to new dog. Okay, so there is an issue because I put them in a nested. I did nesting. So what we do is we're just gonna collapse these two be here, both the pig and the dog. Yeah, we copy them. Yeah, then remove them. So we put them outside the animal class. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. So now we could say yeah, animal dog is equal to new dog. Yeah. So we can do it. We can do it like this. It's because the dog is inheriting from animal. Then we can actually say dog dot animal sound. So we can get the sound of the dog. We can get the sound of the dog. So now we can actually run it to see what comes out of it. So as you can see, so I'm just gonna run it for you to have a look at it. So as you can see here, we have animal sound here. So this is how it all works out. Yeah, so this is what I'm gonna do. We're just gonna look at abstraction. Yeah. Abstraction is the process of hiding certain details and showing only essential information to the user. Abstraction can be achieved with either abstract classes or interfaces. The abstract keyword is used for class and methods. So here, if you as you can see here, what we have here now. So we could make this class an abstract class here. So we can make this animal class an public abstract class. Yeah. So everything is fine, but then this method, we remove this method here and we make it public abstract void. Yeah. So here we just we just gonna print out this bit here and remove this bit here, and now we can inherit the abstract method or the member, so we can implement the abstract class. So as you can see here, so we can implement it now. We can write here our method. We can do the same thing here. We copy this bit here. We close this bit here, and now we can implement them. We can implement it. So now we are all set to go. So here we're just gonna put a semicolon. So in this case here, we've actually declared the concrete abstract method, whereby every method that implements, every class that implements the animal will override this method, animal sound. So if it's a pig, so the pig will be overridden with a pig sound. So we run it to see if we can get the dog sound. So as you can see here now, we've got the dogs sound somewhat ooh, ooh. So as you can see here now, we've actually overridden the dog sound here now. So it's very important to watch that. So on the next, so this was like the intermediate to an advanced level C sharp here. So the next bit here is we will look even further and go on more into an advanced levels. Yeah. So I hope this helps you, and I hope you practice what you've actually learned so far. And I'll catch you up on the next video. So you have a lovely day, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Peace.